They might be distracted by March Madness. They might be distracted by MLB opening day, gambling scandals. But the true sickos, they're still here in the beginning of April drafting best ball teams. The draft might still be a few weeks away, but we are here grinding it out on Best Ball Breakfast. I'm Pete Overzet. We're going to do a couple of big board drafts today. Pat Kerrane, the BBM3 champ, will be swinging by for the second. Let's do it. My slow draft rooms are so much different than my streamed drafts.
Does no one realize Underdog's half-point PPR? Idiots!
Damn, bro. You know ball. Hope you guys packed your bags. I packed my bags. No, I mean, I literally packed my bags.
Dude, Star Method's legit. Only way to max out every contest in a plus EV way.
Week 17, you still gotta get there, bro.
We have a finite sample. We only have so much samples. Is it negative EV to stream all your drafts? We just don't know. All right. Good morning. Good morning. We got KZ in the chat. The large coffee mugs are the nuts. I'm on number 3. Incredible. Incredible. Yeah, you can get your 15 ounce, your 11 ounce mugs in the stores. Bindles was here in the chat with us on, what was it, Saturday night for the show with Josh Norris. He enjoyed that. Yes, very much enjoyed that conversation with Josh. If you guys are YouTube members on the channel, the Best Ball Value Hounds tier, you get access to all those Best Ball After Dark shows. Got to talk with Josh about all kinds of stuff, YouTube, content creation, some meta stuff, and then also got to learn about his experience at the Draft Network, the infamous Draft Network. If you've hung out at all on NFL Twitter, you've heard some of the salacious stories from there, from Arif Hassan's great Substack piece about that. David, I now realize Pat is willing to wake up to draft because he's soon to be a dad and he needs to get used to not sleeping so much. This is true. This is true. Kerrane will be joining us for the second draft. And we'll be looking forward to that. Yeah, he should be going on his paternity leave here pretty soon. I think he's going to do one more ship chasing episode with us this week. And then, yeah, we'll be taking a few weeks off as he eases into dad life. Although I guess saying easing into dad life is a bit of an oxymoron there. I'm noticing multiple of you. I saw Nick is on spring break. Michael says first time I can watch live being off work. This is what spring break is like when you're in your mid 30s, right? Or just not in college anymore. You know, what it would be like. Tired is going to Cabo for spring break and doing, tequila body shots. Wired is tapping in for a Best Ball live stream in March. You guys are the ones living your best life. I don't know. Maybe you have a pina colada while you watch and you can have the best of both worlds. It is in fact April Fool's Day. I tried to work myself up to do just, a really fun a really fun lulz here with April Fool's Day. And I just couldn't bring myself to do it. It just feels so played out at this point. But be on guard today. I promise I will not be springing anything on you. Although the production team, they did give me some fun ideas. I thought about pulling up a drafters draft, trying to get you guys to hop in to that. I thought about withholding my coffee pour. But at the end of the day, I just couldn't do that to you guys. I couldn't, be yanking you around here on a channel where you guys are just so used to no tomfoolery, just cut the bullshit, get down to the brass tacks of drafting. So I'm apologizing right now that I rugged you guys on April Fool's Day tomfoolery, but I just didn't have it in me. But I do have a coffee pour in me. I do have a coffee pour. There you go. As I say, the Monday coffee pours, not only doing them on stream, but the combination of I wait to drink my coffee until right before the show, because otherwise I would be drinking coffee all morning long, which doesn't seem ideal. So the Monday coffee just hits much harder than the coffees any other day. I love getting to share that moment with you guys here. How was your guys' weekend? Chris giving me the textbook pour stamp of approval. Appreciate that. I do see Grant here talking about the Rashee Rice situation. It's kind of a weird thing, right? Because obviously there were some big accounts that picked it up. Adam Schefter had it, ESPN had a thing, and yet the details around this the situation are still incredibly non-existent. Essentially, all we know as of right now is that the car was registered to him. I have seen some of the footage of 3 men walking away from the car. But yeah, there's a reason that we haven't kind of run with this and, felt like there's not enough details around it to talk concretely about it. I get it, though. This is a fantasy football show. Rashee Rice is a very important player to fantasy drafts, goes very high in drafts. I do think it makes sense to proceed with some caution right now. But as far as like speculating on what happened, what could potentially be the fallout for that, I have a hard time trying to guess on that right now because details are so hard to come by. So we will see how that goes. I mean, the thing just even separating the Rashee Rice thing that we know from underdog drafts in general is the ADP is so sticky. And people are anchored to it in a way that it's like, I don't think you're ever going to see some crazy Rashee Rice fall. Not even saying like, unless everyone in the draft were like news hounds fully paying attention, you're still going to get an auto draft, or you're still going to find someone who's like, oh yeah, I think this is going to be a nothing burger. But yeah, I guess if you do want to talk about it through the lens of fantasy, it's more just interesting in that, he was kind of a tricky guy to value initially, where you're like, hey, we expect them to bring someone in free agency. They did, Marquise Brown. We still probably expect them to draft someone. And this is just another thing to layer on to the risk at that ADP. And yet on the other hand, too, I've been thinking about this like early second round to third round range a lot. And it is such a flat tier there. And Rashee Rice kind of firmly falls into that early second to late third tier of wide receivers that I'm personally having a hard time kind of differentiating. I, of course, have my favorites, guys that, I slightly prefer more than others, but it's an interesting thing. And it sounded like we're going to get more updates today. I believe Rashee Rice had retained legal counsel, and the report was he was going to be making a statement today. So we will see how that goes. We will keep you guys updated. I'm sure you will be talking about it in the Discord. But we have hopped in a draft. We are ready to go here on Best Ball Breakfast. I tipped you guys off in the Discord with the draft alerts. There were a few spots up for grabs, and it appears that we have some friends and family who have been able to join in here. Who do I see? I see Mark. I see TM Longacre. I see Casey. I see Davis. I see Hawkberg. I see Copper and JGFC. Okay, this is like a true throwback. I've not seen JGFC in one of my drafts in a while. Welcome, JGF. Excited to have you here in the draft streets with us today. I have the non-influencer 108. I don't mind that, though. As I've said on a few shows, I have not had a lot of late draft slots. I've just started to get some AJ Brown shares in this contest, just specifically because I have not been drafting near the 1-8. So we will see what we can do here. And we are off to the races in a big board draft. Yeah, Davis is now doing his thing on Twitter where whatever prospect he falls in love with on this week is now for sure a Kansas City Chief. Yeah. Anus Smith is locked into the Chiefs. This is like you trying to predict the ship chasing clip, Davis. You have tried to lock essentially like 3 to 4 different players over the course of the offseason to ship chasing, and now you're trying to do it to the Chiefs. Bijan Robinson 101. Okay. All right. That's how we're going to start the morning. Didn't this happen last week too? Didn't I do a rant last week where it's like, yeah, I'm excited about Bijan too, but I'm not taking him over Christian McCaffrey. Goodness. Is this happening in your guys' drafts regularly right now? Is this just commonplace? All right. I'm on the clock here. Okay. I'll do Amon-Ra at 8. I thought I might end up in that Puka AJ Brown territory, but I will happily select Amon-Ra. A guy I don't think I have a lot of here. I can pull up my exposures so far in the big board draft. This is my 22nd draft here, and I do not believe I have a ton of Amon-Ra. This is, wow, this looks to be my first Amon-Ra St. Brown share. You can tell the reason that is from all those early slots. I have 21% Ja'Marr Chase. So I've had a ton of those like 104, 105, 106 slots. So yeah, happy to get an Amon-Ra St. Brown share. Let's see here. What do we got in the chat? Tyler P. Any sneak peeks behind the content curtain for what's in store for hot best ball summer? You know, honestly, like right now, I'm so committed to trying to put out weekly videos on the Deposit Kingdom YouTube channel. And I think a lot of my best ball content is going to be over there this year, having a lot of fun working on those pre-recorded videos. And so that's going to be a big part of my efforts. Obviously, I'm going to be streaming a ton. I guess I can give you a little tease. I am thinking of expanding Best Ball Breakfast on Mondays, making it an even bigger block. You know, we started out just doing one draft here. Then we started kind of doing 2 drafts. I don't know. Maybe this summer, Mondays are just a big old drafting party. Maybe 3 drafts, maybe 4 drafts, maybe 5 drafts. I don't know. That's might be a way I'm leaning, is doing a ton of drafts on Monday mornings and then spending kind of my midweek time making strategy videos on the Deposit Kingdom channel. So yeah, make sure you guys are subscribed over there if you aren't. I'm going to make this pick here. I'll do DeVon, Achane. I do have the leg up rankings in here. JT, Barkley, Achane. Then we are in kind of that long amorphous tier at wide receiver. Let's do Achane and Amon-Ra. I guess it is funny to select Amon-Ra after Raheem Mostert did sign his contract extension over the weekend. I included that link here. I was just going to pull up the exact contract details here. This is in the Fantasy Life newsletter. Make sure you guys are subscribed there as well. Dolphins officially signed Pro Bowl running back Raheem Mostert today to his new 2-year, $9 million deal. I don't think that necessarily changes anything for Achane specifically, but interesting to note that the Dolphins have recommitted to Mostert there. But yeah, circling back, Tyler, make sure you guys are subscribed over there to the Deposit Kingdom channel. I have, if you guys missed it last week, I did a video looking at the dream landing spots for the pass catchers, the rookie pass catchers in this class. I basically went through all of the top ADPs for the rookies and then did a thought experiment of what would be their best possible landing spot within reason, and then what would that do to their ADPs. And it ended up being a very valuable exercise in understanding which of these guys are already priced near the tippity top of their ceiling. Like, could it actually get much better for them? So when I'm looking at guys like Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm like, yeah, maybe in the best case scenarios, they inch up a slot or 2. Same with a guy like Rome Odunze. Maybe he inches up another 5 or 6 picks, a half a round. But I think what's really fun is then seeing who are the guys that could actually jump 3, 4, maybe 5 rounds in the scenario of a perfect fit. And to me, those are the guys that still strike me as values. That you could get 4 to 5 rounds of closing line windfall value if they bink the perfect spot. So check out that video on the Deposit Kingdom channel. And I, of course, even tossed in a little Brock Bowers there as well as the premium tight end talent in this draft class. So we have started Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and DeVon, Achane. And now we have what looks to be, I'll be able to grab kind of the end of this wide receiver tier here. Tank Dell, Rashee Rice, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf on the board. For those of you on Rashee Rice watch, he does go at pick 36, which is pick 30. His ADP coming into today was 27.4, so just a slight slide for him. I will do Mike Evans here. I will grab some Mike Evans. DeVon, Achane, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Mike Evans. He's normally not here at 3-8, goes 4 picks ahead generally because of ADP. And I do see that the rise of Josh Jacobs is in full effect. What was his ADP heading into this? Because he just went at pick 29. His ADP was 33. What do you think? I think by close in this contest, his ADP will be like 26, 27. And then I do fully expect when we get into Best Ball Mania drafting season that he'll be, 20, 21, 22. I don't even know if I feel comfortable putting a cap on Josh Jacobs' upside because drafters have historically selected that profile in the first round. Like they've been willing to take lead back with very little competition on an above average offense. They will happily select that in the first round or the 1-2 turn. So I do not think we are done seeing the rise of Josh Jacobs in ADP, but it has been fascinating to watch how quickly he has moved in the big board contest since free agency here. Brady says, where is sentiment on George Pickens now? That's an interesting one because I do feel like people in general are excited about George Pickens, but I also think conversely, they're not super excited about the quarterback situation there. I think appropriately pricing in a bump with the loss of Deontay Johnson and just knowing he has very little target competition now should have you enthused, but not getting carried away, I think makes sense as well. All right, I'll grab another falling veteran wide receiver here. DK Metcalf, ADP of 35. He falls to me at pick 41 here. Fun start. So we got the DeVon Achane anchor running back in the second round. And then 3 wide receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, and DK Metcalf. Tyler hitting me with the ooh. Yeah, Tyler says, can't wait for Green Bay to draft a running back with A.J. Dillon being on the outs and useless. Completely agree with that. Jacobs' contract being total fluff and team going after a 24 type and kind of forcing a committee. Yeah, and I think the whole thing about those conversations is there are a lot of backfields like that, right? Where it's like even a team like the Vikings, the Raiders, obviously, like there's a lot of these spots where they are just prime candidates to select another running back. And then the counter is, can they actually find someone talented enough to force themselves onto the field? And if they get second or third round draft capital, that seems very likely. But if it is, say, a later round 4 pick, round 5, then you do start to worry, I think, about their chances of making noise, at least in year 1. So I will be fascinated to see kind of the draft capital spent on these running backs and then the landing spots. But to your point, Tyler, I do think there's going to be a lot of these backfields where we're going to be looking at these dusty veterans and a pretty exciting running back they took in round 4 or 5 and starting to tell ourselves the story of, okay, I could see this guy climbing the depth chart. I can see the wheels coming off for this veteran running back and the team being like, screw it. Let's see the fresh legs we got here. And I think that's why it's going to be such a fun year again for Zero RB. I feel like that's an evergreen comment, but when we're going to have so many running backs, in that round 11 to 15 range, where we can tell ourselves stories of them taking over by the end of the season, I think it's going to be pretty fun for putting together those portfolios. All right, we're about to pick at 5-8 here. We have a few different directions we could go. We'll see what Hawkberg does. Amari Cooper falls to him at 55. I think I'm going to grab a quarterback here. I'm going to grab Anthony Richardson. Would love to continue to build out a portfolio of at least being even with the field on Anthony Richardson. I think one of the other considerations here, with these 3 quarterbacks here, Amon-Ra, Jared Goff, Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield, DK Metcalf, Geno Smith, none of those guys are super exciting stacking partners for me. I don't feel like I'm going to need to force it with any of those guys. So getting a quarterback like Anthony Richardson, who has a lot of individual upside, I think makes sense with this room. And then I can pair Anthony Richardson with 1 or maybe 2 of those other stacking partners on the cheap. But this allows me to get that QB ceiling here in the 5th round. And yeah, it is like, where do you guys think as a thought experiment, like if Anthony Richardson had played the full season last year, based on the trajectory he was on, what he was doing, like where do you think he would be going in drafts right now? Because I would not be shocked if Anthony Richardson was like a round 4 pick, right after Jalen Hurts, essentially, if we had seen him for the full season. I mean, what he was giving us on the ground was just so massive. So I guess if that thesis is true, you're getting what? Like a round and a half discount just because he didn't play the whole season? Yeah, Raise It says he thinks he would be into the third. That sounds about right to me. Right after Lamar. And considering how poorly things ended for Jalen Hurts, I wouldn't be surprised if he were neck and neck with him. All right, let's see here. I am picking at 6'5". I got Anthony Richardson at quarterback, DeVon Achane at running back. We got Amon-Ra, Mike Evans, and DK Metcalf. Burrow comes off the board. I think this seems like a good spot to get George Kittle. George Kittle has been a guy that I wasn't getting a ton of in these drafts because I was loving the value on Kelsey and Mark Andrews and Trey McBride. Although now that I say it, I have George Kittle at 21%. And the reason that is because in a lot of those drafts, and I think with the Badge Bros with Pat, we would just take George Kittle as the second tight end. Where we were just saying, hey, he's the best player on the board here still. I'll just go with a bully tight end. Tight end is pretty late. But I also like him here as the anchor tight end. And I've still been struggling with the idea of Kyle Pitts going ahead of George Kittle. Like, I am willing to be back on the Kyle Pitts train. I am on that train. I just don't think I'm on it so much that I'm ready to flip Kyle Pitts ahead of George Kittle. But is this a grown-ass man team or what here? Anthony Richardson at quarterback, DeVon Achane running back. We got Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, George Kittle, and Amon-Ra St. Brown here. I don't think Amon-Ra is considered a GAM in the way I'm using it. But between Kittle, DK Metcalf, Mike Evans, I think we got a pretty good GAM squad going here. Let's see. Donovan says, do you think Rashee Rice's situation increases likelihood of KC drafting a wide receiver early? I think you have to say it, but again, let's have that question, maybe even later this afternoon when we get details on, I literally just want confirmation that was for sure him in the car. And I know that seems like, connect the dots, Peter, but we still don't actually have facts to fully back that up yet. But I was under the belief that the Chiefs were going to select a wide receiver pretty high regardless. I think the question for me has been, would it be with that first round pick? But yeah, I think they are such a prime candidate to select a wide receiver. It makes so much sense. And if you put yourself in the mind of the Chiefs, right, it's like they were kind of like Icarus last year. They flew pretty close to the sun. They were like, let's just see how much we can get away with having a competent offense, making the entire offense built out of Patrick Mahomes, and see if we can pull it off. And they pulled it off, like by the skin of their cheeks. What is it? By the skin of my skinny chin? Sorry, I'm bastardizing these phrases this morning. But they barely pulled it off, in large part due to Rashee Rice coming on at the end of the season. I think they head into this year, they look at how deep this draft class is, they look at Travis Kelce being another year older, and they say, all right, let's go get more reinforcements. All right, we're about to pick in the late 7th right now. Hochberg takes JSN. I will take David Montgomery here. Another faller, just scooping up a little value here this morning. I also like that I already have Amon-Ra St. Brown. So building out these team bets here before the schedule comes out, just getting in some natural correlation. David Montgomery joins DeVon Achane here. Feel good about that one. Yeah. Little pig, let me in. Not the hair of my chinny chin. That was the one I was going for. Thank you, Brandon. Davis is now on to AD Mitchell as being on the Kansas City Chiefs. What are the Chiefs draft picks? Because obviously they have that one at the end of the first. Let's see what the other picks are here. Yeah, so they pick at 32 and 64. So round 2, pick 64, you could probably catch the end of that pretty fun wide receiver tier, right? Like, is a guy like Ricky Pearsall, a guy like Roman Wilson, those guys should be there around pick 64, you would think. At pick 32, though, you're probably in that more like, as Davis said, AD Mitchell, potentially maybe the Ladd McConkey range in there, maybe a Troy Franklin range. So that would be interesting. I feel like I would bet a lot of money that they spend either the 32nd or 64th pick on a wide receiver. Yeah, Keon Coleman, he would definitely be in that range. Stepfather says Ricky Pearsall, and my apologies, Rizzy Pearsall is the natural successor to Trav Riz Kelsey. My God. One day after I saw He Is Risen, Rizzen, on my timeline as the short and intermediate yardage king in KC. All right, let's see what we got going on here in the 8th round. Definitely kind of a bit of a dead area here. What do you guys think about a little Miami backfield handcuffing here? What do you guys think about Raheem Mostert? I do not believe I have much Mostert, if any. I kind of don't mind it. I've definitely been way more open to the handcuffing in these early contests here. I'm going to put Mostert in the queue and just make sure I'm not missing anything else. The only other thing would be if I needed to grab a wide receiver here. Where do I pick next? 104. All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a little Miami handcuffing. I'll be honest, I don't love it. I don't love it. One of my normal things is if I spend that early of a pick on a player, DeVon Achane, that I want to make my bet on that guy being the lead guy. I'm just going to take an immediate L on this pick. I don't think I love it. I don't think I love it. In general, I find myself doing way more team correlation bets in the big board than I will in Best Ball Mania, where I'm trying to more hit the nuts when we have the schedule and can do more correlating type things. I think the handcuffing is much more palatable when it's cheaper price tags, like Kenneth Walker at 66 and then Zach Charbonnet. I think that's a tougher or an easier sell. I guess the counterpoint, if I'm trying to talk myself in to this pick, it's that Raheem Mostert and DeVon Achane, like, in a way, kind of play different positions. Raheem Mostert was getting a ton of the goal line carries last year. They certainly like him in that role. DeVon Achane, they're scheming up more kind of weapon-like touches for him. And then the other selling point would be the backfield so heavily consolidates around these two that there's no other third back that's stealing anything away, and that you're just capturing the entire pie of a really, really successful run offense. But yeah, I don't know if I love it. I don't love it. David supports me. Copper says, Miami is weird because you have 4 guys going in the top 8 rounds, but their QB is QB 12. Yeah. Yeah, run good, Rook. What about Jalen Warren and Najee Harris? That's another one I have no problem with. I think the hard one would be like the David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. And I don't necessarily love it, so I don't know why I should love Mostert and Achane. The other thing I was trying to think through was what I wanted to do with this wide receiver pick at 104. I knew I would be selecting a wide receiver here. And I guess if I wanted 2 wide receivers, like say I wanted to reach for Xavier Worthy, which I have been very much willing to do, I knew I would have had to take him at that spot and then come back and get this other wide receiver here. But I just didn't feel like taking Xavier Worthy at pick 89. But I do like getting Josh Downs here. Josh Downs, right around ADP, just a smidge ahead. But I do have Anthony Richardson. I'm still pretty excited about Josh Downs this year. I think the Colts could definitely be a team that drafts another wide receiver here as well. But I think Josh Downs stacked with Anthony Richardson after pick 100. I just want to be making bets on that team. And I do think, obviously, Anthony Richardson can hit his ceiling just with rushing. But if we get like the truly nuclear Anthony Richardson season, I bet Josh Downs is coming along for the ride with some big games there. Casey was trying to make sure he didn't get sniped on Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams went 102. What is that, his ADP, or is that fairly high? Caleb Williams, ADP of 109, so a little higher. Everyone's going and getting their guys today. Let's see this team here through 9 rounds. Anthony Richardson at quarterback. Achane and Mostert cucked up that Dolphins backfield. David Montgomery at running back. Other wide receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, Josh Downs, tight end George Kittle. Let's see here. What is Chubb's ADP going to be when the market realizes he is starting the season on PUP? Yeah, I was starting to look around at various rankings. I think I'm going to do a video, I don't know, this week, maybe next week, kind of comparing the different big board ranking sets out there and looking at the kind of most polarizing players. And I did an initial kind of run through of that last night. And Nick Chubb is one of the ADPs with the most standard deviation. He is a tough guy to peg down. Let's go ahead and grab Tyler Lockett here. I believe I took him last week as well. I do like him. I already have DK Metcalf. Geno is a very cheap stack guy late. If I do want to go that route, we'll grab Tyler Lockett. I'm surprised the chat hasn't turned on me for such an old wide receiver room right now. Amon-Ra, Evans, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. Goodness. Take this team out to pasture. Yeah, what is Chubb at right now? Chubb's ADP 89. Kerrane has him ranked at 117. There's always going to be a Chubb drafter, though. There's always going to be a guy who's like, man, I know he's got that whole thing with the knee and all that, but it's Nick Chubb, man. I know what happened. I heard. I know how old he is. I know how hard it is to, recover. I know there's Jerome Ford. I know there's Deontay Foreman, but man, it's Nick Chubb, brother. It's Nick Chubb, brother. Just let me select him. It's Nick Chubb, brother. I assume that's the internal monologue of every single Nick Chubb drafter. GTO Hurricane says, I'm the Chubb drafter. Generational talent. There it is. Brother. I know about all that stuff with the medical, but this is a generational talent, brother. I mean, brother, this guy transcends medicine, the laws of physics. We're talking about Nick fucking Chubb, brother. Yes, people do forget that Nick Chubb's one of the best pure rushers in the league. I don't care if he's running on 2 knee nubs out there, just kind of hobbling around. Best pure rusher in the league. All right, we're about to pick at 128. It's funny because I was considering Jacoby Myers. Okay, Hochberg takes Jacoby Myers, so I don't have to get fooled. We could take Jared Goff here and be done at quarterback. Singletary's been a tougher sell for me. We could also do a rookie in Keon Coleman. I think I might just close the loop at quarterback or give myself permission to have a few different stacks where I can kind of play the Metcalf Lockett stuff and not deal with the Geno when Sam Howell is the one chucking balls to them at the end of the season. We'll grab Jared Goff around past ADP here. So we got Anthony Richardson stacked with Downs. We got Jared Goff stacked with Amon-Ra. Always feels good to stack up your first round pick. You've already made such a big investment in them. We got the Miami running backs. We also have Montgomery as part of that Lion stack. Evans, Metcalf, Lockett, and George Kittle. And then I feel like it's time to start grabbing some rookies, right? I feel like it's about time to start grabbing some rookies. There is a rookie-sized hole, a void on this team. Josh Downs is kind of our honorary rookie in that he is a year 2 guy, but he doesn't have his photo up yet on Underdog, so it feels rookie-esque. But I feel like I need to start drafting some rookies. JGFC took Keon Coleman. I'm sure JGFC's internal monologue when he selected him was, he's a riser, baby. Is JGFC in the chat this morning? All right, let's see here. What do we want to do? Where are some rookies? Should we draft Roman Wilson? Pat has a pretty aggressive rank on him. We might be able to wait a little bit. We could grab another running back here, Chuba or Gus Edwards. I kind of like the Gus Edwards value here. I'm sorry. I thought I was going to get some rookie fever, but I want to get a little bit more Gus. Gus ADP of 123. We get him at pick 137. Why is Gus Edwards not rising? That's back to what? Like his pre-signing ADP? I guess he was going later than that. I mean, I made a video last week. It was an intervention for Jim Harbaugh, telling him that he absolutely had to draft a wide receiver, save Justin Herbert. But look, I'm willing to embrace it. Like sometimes you gotta turn into the skid. You know, sometimes you got to play Jonnu Smith in DFS because that's what Arthur Smith wants to do. Instead of fighting it, you embrace it. How do you embrace what Jim Harbaugh wants to do? You draft Gus Edwards. When the market gives you Gus Edwards falling past ADP, you embrace it. Oh, people are worried about J.K. Dobbins. Guys, trust me, again, one of the biggest J.K. Dobbins sloppies out there in 2023, 2022. We got to give that one up. Davis, how are you out here shaming people about the Nick Chubb ADP coming off an injury, but then you're scared about what J.K. Dobbins means for Gus Edwards? We've already seen what Gus Edwards does with J.K. Dobbins. He discards him and steals all of the touchdowns. One of these days, one of these picks, I will draft a rookie. Why won't this room let me draft any rookies? You guys are hogging them all. You're hogging them all. We are going to finish this draft with a flurry of rookies, unlike anything anyone has ever seen. All right, what do we do? I can't take Marvin Mims. I refuse to. ADP-wise, you know what? I don't mind the Fryer. I don't mind the Freiermuth. I'd like to get a second okay tight end in here before the cliff really falls out. Again, we were talking about the George Pickens thing, right? I feel like Deontay Johnson leaving, it might be just as big for Freiermuth as far as his over-the-middle targets as it is for George Pickens. Because it's like, yes, George Pickens will naturally get a few more looks, but when he's marooned on the outside, Pat Freiermuth should be a pretty big beneficiary there underneath. All right, more coffee. Man, I think that's my last pour. It's always sad when you get down to the last pour of the morning. All right, let's see this team so far. Anthony Richardson and Jared Goff at quarterback. We have the Miami backfield on lock. DeVon, Achane, Raheem, Mostert. We got David Montgomery as part of this Lions bet. Gus Edwards, past ADP. Wide receivers, geriatric crew of Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, Josh Downs, and Tyler Lockett. George Kittle and Pat Freiermuth at tight end. I like this team. It just needs more rookies. It needs more rookies. What is up, Hoosier? Good morning. Good morning. Hope you all had a great bunny day. It was a good Easter. April got to do an Easter egg hunt. Her grandma gave her a xylophone, which she treats like a drum. You know, I'm trying to teach her, kind of how to delicately play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star on a xylophone. And she's just out here just ramming the hell out of it. She thinks they're drumsticks. A xylophone you use as a drum. All right, Copper takes Braylon Allen. Is there a rookie for me to take here? Where did all the rookies go? Who should we take? Michael Wilson. I've been trying to get a little bit more of him. I don't think we need a third tight end here. We need more wide receivers. I think we can do Michael Wilson. This has been the value draft. We do know that the value in these later rounds is pretty marginal, but I still like telling myself getting Michael Wilson 10 picks past ADP. He joins Josh Downs as an honorary rookie on this team as a second-year player. Do we know why Michael Wilson has a photo, but Josh Downs doesn't? 2 second-year players. I mean, Josh Downs had higher draft capital than Michael Wilson. Why is Michael Wilson the one with the photo, but not Josh Downs? In my daily DMs to Hope and Numi, where I give them all of my thoughts on how to improve the Underdog platform, today they're going to hear about this Josh Downs situation. Copper, the guy just took likely 9 picks ahead of ADP. He already had Mandrews. Everyone's got handcuffing fever here today. I kicked this off with Mostert Achane. I'll take the blame for this. Does Copper had Lamar? Oh, yeah. Copper thinks he had the rights to Isaiah Likely just because he took Lamar. No. Jolly Green said, not so fast, Copper. Maybe if you weren't trying to make a Zamboni pick right now, you could have grabbed Likely a round ahead. All right, it's time to draft a rookie. We're going to do it. We're going to draft a rookie. I'm going to do an official poll here real quick. Let's do a poll. Polk, Jalen Polk, Walker, or Burton. Can I get this poll up fast enough? I'm going. Who? Here we go. The poll is up. Start poll. I only have 18 seconds for these results to come in. Polk, Walker, or Burton. I promised rookies. It's time. Oh, did I only get 2? Did only 2? No, they're up there. It looks like Walker. No, Polk pulls ahead 42%. I'm putting Polk in the queue. 44% for Polk. I actually think Polk is a good guy for me to draft because I've been taking so much Jalen McMillan. I need to balance out my Washington Husky portfolio. Jalen Polk. Who was I listening to wax about Polk? I know Gretsch obviously likes Polk compared to McMillan. I was listening to, I think it was Mina Kimes. She was on the Athletic show, I think with Robert Mays. And she was saying how she really thinks Polk is going to be an impact player in the NFL. Hey, don't worry, guys. We're going to keep drafting rookies. If your rookie that you voted for did not get selected, guess what? We might still try to select them again. The poll results were very close, though. I did close it after 53 votes. Polk got 35%, Burton got 33%, Walker got 30%, which to me shows that you guys are a smart crowd. It's like all of these guys, the true probabilities of them hitting without us knowing their draft capital, only really knowing who they are as prospects, they're probably all in a very similar tier. All right, we're about to pick in the 16th here. I do want to kind of just think through my running back stuff before this gets a little thin. Wide receivers here. Is there anything we want to do with running backs? I think we can maybe kick running back a little bit more. I mean, I promised you guys rookies. Let's do Jermaine Burton. Was Jermaine Burton second in the polls? I think he was. Yeah, Burton came in second. See, look, I'm a people pleaser. 33% of the voters didn't get their way. So now the 35% who selected Polk are happy. The 33% who selected Burton are happy. This is how you have a 68% and nearly 69% favorability rating with your audience when you select the players they like. It's only the Walker heads who are steaming mad right now. They are absolutely steaming. They're leaving the stream in droves. I voted. I exercised my right as a best ball breakfast citizen and my voice was not heard. We're talking about Tyler Conklin as it pertains to Brock Bowers in the chat. We're all very healthy, well-rounded individuals. This is a wild take, Copper. I mean, you're better than this. Bowers' aura doesn't scream elite, in my honest opinion. This is all because of that one goddamn photo of him next to Gronk. That one photo plagued the minds of so many once great fantasy players. They need to make a 30 for 30 on that photo. I really do think Brock Bowers is going to go on and have this incredible career in the NFL, and people are going to look back at that photo as the red herring that threw them off the scent. Have you ever heard about a wolf in sheep's clothing? That's what Brock Bowers is. He's underassuming. He sneaks up on you. He lulls you into a false sense of security, and then he goes gam all over your ass. Have I seen his stance? Wait, who are the other rookies here that we needed to draft? Man, Bucky Irving and Estime went off. I would have liked to have grabbed one of them. I promised the people rookies. I promised them. Javon Baker, let's do it. I know JJ had a post the other day in his newsletter looking at 3 of his favorite sleepers in the class. And I know Javon Baker was one of his favorites. Let me pull this up because this was a good piece. Let's see if I can get this in here. Let's see what he said about my new guy here. Is this going to pull up? Why isn't this pulling up in my... I'm trying to do the screen share here. Whatever, I can't do the screen share, but I'll read you what he said about Javon Baker. I'll read you what the great late-round QB said. It would have been nice to see Javon Baker catch more than 9 passes during his 2 years at Alabama, but it's not exactly easy to put up big numbers at Bama as an underclassman. After a 2-year stint there, Baker transferred to Central Florida. His first year as a Knight was fine, but not great. And then things really picked up in 2023. His yardage total increased by 43% year over year, and he had a 3.11 yards per team pass attempt rate, leading to a top 10 breakout score in this year's class. He played 4 seasons in college, but he's a relatively young prospect. He'll be just a little over 22 years old during the draft, which is a half year younger than most wide receivers who go to school for 4 years. That's a positive to his profile. Maybe teams won't end up drafting him as high, but with his production profile, top 100 draft capital could go a long way. He's someone to pay attention to in drafts. Well, guess what, JJ? I am paying attention, buddy, and I just selected him. Have I appeased the rookie wide receiver lovers? Have I appeased you with 3 straight picks, Jalen Polk, Jermaine Burton, and Javon Baker? Am I back in the good graces of those who love loading up on rookie wide receivers? Should we do a 3 QB build with Geno now that he's like 40 picks past ADP and we have the double? I kind of think we could. What do you think? We are going to have to draft some running backs at some point. I think we can take the Geno dip at this point. I don't mind having 3 quarterbacks in this format. If Richardson missed a little bit of time, I would be devastated to have the nut team that's only getting some points from Goff, and then Richardson comes back in the fantasy playoffs. Let's do Geno here, like a goddamn 40 picks past ADP. Someone check my math. Geno, ADP of 176, pick 209. Close the loop on the DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett double. We are going to have to find a running back. Actually, I just realized I know who my running back is. I just figured it out. No, he just went. Ezekiel Elliott went at 212. I wrote about Zeke in the Fantasy Life newsletter today. The rumor over the weekend is mutual interest, possible reunion for Zeke. There's actually a really good conversation in the Ship Chasing Discord over the weekend about kind of Zeke and Rico Dowdle. I think both are good picks right now. I've come around on the Zeke stuff after thinking it through. I mean, you're really kind of free rolling the RB2 stuff. You were free rolling it with Rico. You're kind of free rolling it with Zeke. Everyone wants them to draft Jonathan Brooks. If Jonathan Brooks starts this season, needs a slow ramp up because he's coming off of that ACL. I mean, you're literally looking at a Zeke Elliott, Rico Dowdle backfield for potentially the start of the season in that scenario where they sign Zeke. And people do forget. This is the biggest people do forget right now. People do forget that the doctor who performed the procedure on Brooks's knee is the Cowboys head physician. If you guys want to just woo people at a dinner party, at the bar, you tell people that the doctor who repaired and did the procedure on Brooks's knee is also the Cowboys head physician. That's how you win hearts and minds. That's how you flex that you're the ultimate ball knower. You let people know because people do forget. All right. You know what I realized? So YouTube has this thing where they will allow me to gift memberships. What's incredibly frustrating about it is it defaults and it doesn't let me gift which membership. So I'm going to give you guys the good news and the bad news. Here's first the good news. I'm about to give away 5 memberships. The bad news is it defaults to not the best ball value hounds. So you would have to upgrade to, I think it's like an extra $1 a month or whatever. I realize that's tedious because I'm just trying to use the YouTube platform to give these gifts. But I did just give out 5 gift memberships here. You can go in and upgrade them. Here we go. Chunk the Deuce, Brendan, Christopher. It's just random, guys. Graphic and I am K-Man. I can do one during the second draft as well. So now you essentially have like 90% off the membership. Are we going to just take Izzy? I have so much Izzy because of these leg up rankings. We could talk about Izzy when Kerrane comes here in a little bit. I'm kind of kicking myself that I missed out on like the Bucky Irving, Audric Estime tier. They went 190. This tier here got wiped out from pick 187 to 192. I took Burton. And then I kind of wish I would have done the 2v2 of taking a running back here, getting one of Mitchell, Ray Davis, Keaton Mitchell, Audric Estime, or Miles Sanders. And then instead, flipping this Izzy pick and wide receiver pick. But I still think Izzy is a solid pick as the presumed number 2 there behind Breece Hall. I think you just get board fatigue drafting the same players over and over. But man, running back in this range is just so thin. It's really thin. Dameon Pierce, Alexander Madison, Gainwell, Justice Hill, Michael Carter are the best via ADP. Let's see how we're going to land this plane. We have a 3-5-9-2 here. We're done at quarterback. I think we're good at tight end. There's nothing really interesting left at tight end. It's definitely a running back or a wide receiver pick. I just talked about how uninspiring the running backs are, but as are the wide receivers at this point too. Does the chat have any suggestions? A scroll the F down pick. Actually, I already have the pick. Sorry. I know I said I was going to crowdsource you guys, but Kalif Raymond makes a ton of sense for this team. Let me lay out the case. 1, Josh Reynolds is gone. 2, Jameson Williams is probably a fraud in the ultimate rug pull. 3, he's a double stack with Jared Goff. You like double stacking those pass checkers. And number 4, Kalif Raymond was not getting drafted for the majority of this contest. His overall draft percentage is probably sub 20%, might even be sub 10%, honestly. He just started getting drafted a little bit after the Josh Reynolds trade. So I'm getting a double stack guy, a hashtag better in best ball pick, and a guy who I'm scrolling the F down for, who has a much less frequent draft percentage than a lot of these other wide receivers at the top of the ADP. Yes, I'm a Raymond slappy. You select Kalif Raymond twice and you become a Raymond slappy. Actually, I think I will have selected him a third time because I'm going to do For the Deposit Kingdom video this week, I am going to do a review of a biggest board slow draft I did. So that was the $100 3 max contest that Underdog spun up for us, and had fun doing that draft. So I'm going to do kind of like a play-by-play, pick-by-pick walkthrough on the Deposit Kingdom channel this week. And I did select Kalif Raymond in that one as well. So the accusation that has been leveled against me of being a Kalif Raymond slappy, I'm ready to own up to it. If you are new to the channel and wondering what the hell I'm talking about with draft percentage frequency and scrolling the F down, make sure you do check out that video on the Deposit Kingdom channel. That was from a few weeks ago. I believe the video is titled How to Outsmart ADP. And you will can get caught up to speed on the strategy that people employ in the daily contests on Underdog and how you can apply it in some of these season-long contests as well. All right, let's recap this team. Then we'll have Kerrane swinging by here in a few minutes to do another draft. This team finished as a 3-5-10-2 build. A 3-5-10-2 build. We have 3 different quarterback stacks. We have Anthony Richardson with Josh Downs. I guess I could have taken Evan Hull. He would have been another way to continue to build out stuff around the Colts. Jared Goff stacked with David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Kalif Raymond. We then have our running back room, DeVon Achane, Raheem Mostert, David Montgomery, Gus Edwards, and Izzy Abanikanda. Our wide receivers got to 10 wide receivers here. I think ideally this is probably like a 9 wide receiver room with 6 running backs, but I decided to go thin at running back here. Wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, Josh Downs, Tyler Lockett, Michael Wilson. The chat got their pitchforks, and I said, fine, I'll start drafting rookies. Jalen Polk, Jermaine Burton, Javon Baker, and then the scroll the F down, Kalif Raymond, and then 2 tight ends, George Kittle, Pat Freiermuth. Cromulent tight end room there. That's my draft number 22. 22 in the books here on 4-1 Best Ball Breakfast. 3-5-10-2 Detroit stack. Yeah, a little thin at running back, but when I have some of those touchdown merchants in David Montgomery and Gus Edwards, when we got the entire Dolphins backfield, I think we can skate by. We need DeVon Achane to get back to his unicorn ways. We need him to anchor this team. Yeah, Travoli says Evan Hull is the AFC South version of Izzy. I guess the only pushback I would say is maybe there's slightly more ambiguity of him for sure being the RB2 there. But I do agree. I think I should have used that as a tiebreaker on Hull. Is Jelani Woods going to be a thing this year? I really doubt it, man. He's had a lot of opportunities to emerge there, and they just seem to love their tight end committees. And he seems to be kind of pigeonholed into certain roles, never really having it expanded to a kind of a full tight end skill set. Purple Yosh likes the team. Why is Javon Baker sickening? Chris Diaz, 7.2 out of 10. Good, not great. I think that's pretty fair. 7.2. Another rookie with a late ADP is probably a better upside bet to leverage that than Kalif with stack. The thing is I don't think it's again, this is one of the things we talk about in the video. There's a difference between late ADP and percent drafted. And even guys like Anis Smith have been drafted at a higher percentage than Kalif, because Kalif literally didn't get drafted until like a week ago or whenever the Josh Reynolds signing happened. I also, with the pocket passers, the Jared Goffs of the world, to make that pick worth it, they're going to get their passing touchdowns. And I always like Kalif Raymond too. So I like getting the double stack there. He does have that downfield deep threat. It's a bet against JMO. I am on board with Kalif Raymond as a last round pick. Can't wait for this Kerrane draft to be an April Fool's joke on you. I wish I had it in me. I really wish I had that in me, but I don't. I'm not a jokester anymore. The thing about April Fool's Day is like most of it is just so uninspired. and it's more pranks. Prank comedy is just like never that fun and interesting. I remember when all the tech companies used to have so much fun with it. You know, Google. What does Google have one for us today? Even Google's over it. You used to go to the Google homepage and they would have something in here. Where is it? See, they don't even have anything. Google's phoning it in now. They're phoning it in. Used to be something like here, it would say like Yahoo. And you'd be like, what? I was supposed to be on Google, man. And it says, ask Jeeves. And then Google's like, just kidding, man. April Fools. Let's see. Has anyone written the article on what the April Fool's jokes are? Here we go. What do we got? Krispy Kreme, a special donut deal for April Fool's Day. Here we go. 7-Eleven has teamed up with art-inspired beverage brand Miracle Seltzer to create a new lineup of sparkling water flavors, including Big Bite Hot Dog. I liked it better when Nathan Fielder did that. Look at this girl just cracking up. She's like, I can't believe it. Big Bite Hot Dog Seltzer? Who would drink that? You got me, 7-Eleven. All right. Sorry, Pat. We were just checking in on all the April Fools.
I can't hear you.
What? I'm pretty sure that the chat can hear me. Otherwise, that would be the best April Fool's Day joke. Pat immediately comes on and says he can't hear me. Like if I did the entire show accidentally on mute and the chat just pretended like I was talking the whole time. Can you hear me now, Pat? Look at this. Guy becomes a dad and immediately becomes a tech boomer. Yeah, we can hear Pat, but Pat can't hear me, it sounds like. We will keep vamping here. Ooh, this is a good one. Copper's going to talk to his daughter in Spanish today.
All right. Sorry, I don't know what was going on there. I couldn't hear you at all.
You're back. Everyone thought you were just pulling a huge April Fool's Day prank on us.
Pretty amazing prank. I can't hear you.
See,
Really
Pat, this is what happens when you don't do it on Twitter, when you just keep your dad announcements, hidden within shows.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm not a dad yet, but will be in like a week and a half.
Yeah.
A week from tomorrow, Brittany's going to be induced. So, yeah, that's not an April Fool's joke. It is. It's also weird to re-announce it on April Fool's because people don't believe you.
Yeah, no. Yeah, Pat, we will need to see a long-form sonogram by the end of the show to actually believe you.
A long-form sonogram is a baby. Is that?
Yeah, that is. Yes, it is. Yeah, so you're going to be going on a little content sabbatical, but you have already promised that you will be back for our big ship chasing draft stream.
That's right.
All right, Pat, I just hopped us into a big board draft here. I'm going to pull this up. Last week, we drafted a biggest board draft with Davis where we basically couldn't agree on anything for the entire show. But now I think we can try to get on the same page. We do have your rankings in here, though.
Nice.
I meant to ask you because you update your rankings frequently. Are a lot of those updates, like the recent ones, is that just manual corrections for ADP shifts where you kind of have your ADP anchoring thing in there? Or are you guys making regular manual adjustments?
Both. So I would say, most days we're doing something that's not just ADP, but the way the ADP formulas work is like we want the ADP to be updated. Because the ADP actually can affect some of the rankings. So it needs to be updated every day for the whole ADP weighting to properly work. Gotcha.
What have there been any in the past week that you've made that are interesting?
Yeah, I mean, I've been adjusting the rookie running backs. I'm going to have my rookie running back articles out this week. And as I've been writing up those guys, I've been adjusting where I stand on some of them, mostly down. Every time I write up a rookie running back, I'm like, I like this guy less than I did before. Chase is
All right. Jamar Chase, Bijan. Bijan went 101 in my morning.
Wow. Yeah, I'm still Jamar Chase there. I
Yeah.
got Bijan for like the first time, but I got him at 107.
Wow.
But I haven't been getting him like at all, and then I got him at 107 as well.
He's by far the guy with the widest deviation in the first round for how far you'll go. Like you'll see him go 101 or you got him at 107. I haven't seen him slip there in a while though.
Yeah. No, I was surprised.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it'll be interesting to see if his ADP, where it settles, because he is a guy like I don't want to be underweight on any of these like top 8 guys. But I do keep I'm certain I'm underweight on Bijan so far. Yeah, I don't have a single share of him because it's like people would take him over Jamar Chase, and then it's like, all right, I'm taking Jamar Chase again.
Yeah, I was kind of fighting putting him ahead of Breece, but I eventually just capitulated because his ADP now is at 5.4. And so Chase is at 4.4, then he's 5.4, and Breece is 6.4. So it's very clear 4, 5, and 6 now. Although Jefferson's at 6.1, but I feel like he's going to end up slipping behind Breece soon.
Amon-Ra. Yeah.
Oh, he could go behind Amon-Ra too, but he's still just a little ahead of Breece, but I think that flips.
Yeah, I feel like the floor for Jefferson is 8. I can't really picture people taking A.J. Brown over Justin Jefferson.
What about Puka?
Yeah. Puka's ADP, he's a guy who just seems to just be like locked and loaded at 9 or 10. I don't really see him go earlier. I don't see him go later. I don't really see people take Garrett Wilson over him that much, which I personally wouldn't have a problem with, but.
Yeah. No, I tend to just grab my Puka too. I don't really have a big stand on that. Yeah, I do like getting Jefferson falling. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird to me that I wonder how much of it is just like the uncertainty. Whereas once, like say the chalk thing happens, right? Where it's like they get JJ McCarthy. That's what most people expect. Like, aren't people going to just talk themselves into JJ McCarthy being a Brock Purdy-esque game manager that can get Justin Jefferson his necessary targets? And then it's like, he's just back to where he was.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a little bit of a hit, but what are you thinking here?
I've swerved Diggs, but I kind of been wanting to try to circle back and get a little bit of him because I've been stubborn on it. That's where you have him in the ranks, unless there's something else you want to do here.
Yeah, we can grab Diggs for sure.
Yeah, I think how are you thinking through because the whole question is his splits, right? Like beginning of last year, similar to AJ Brown, both him and AJ were torching the league, massive target shares. And then he just like was de-emphasized in the offense, it seemed like, in a big way down the stretch. And it's trying to figure out what is going to be the reality for this year.
Yeah, no, that is definitely the concern. And his efficiency fell off a bit, although it wasn't like terrible. It just wasn't really good. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little bit of a concern, but like when you zoom out, it's like he still profiles as the number 1 wide receiver in the Josh Allen offense. So it's like hard for me to get too nervous about it. And I expect them to draft someone, but I mean, they're probably big dogs to even get Brian Thomas. So I think you're looking at like an A.D. Mitchell or like a Keon Coleman or a Xavier Worthy. And I don't know, like I'm not afraid of those guys becoming like the true number 1 in their rookie season over Stefon Diggs. So I think maybe it gets them back to passing a little bit more.
So this is the thesis of the Diggs Allen rank, right?
This is the thesis.
Allen around. Yeah.
Yeah. And my thing on Diggs is like it is flat there. So like if you want to go Laube, that's the other guy that jumped out to me. Deebo Samuel, DJ Moore, Devontae Adams, like Brandon Ayuk, all those guys in that range, I think are very. Michael Pittman, I have a massive stand against, but other than that, I think it's flat.
I agree with you about kind of like the Bills pocket. When I did my dream wide receiver landing spots, I did do Brian Thomas because I was, having some fun thinking about like the best possible one. But
even he's like turbocharged Gabe Davis.
Right. That there's not a ton of like guys with prolific target earning profiles that they would be selecting. Like all of those guys would be like, let's backfill Gabe Davis's role. If anything, I feel like the guy you should be worried about with Diggs is Curtis Samuel, just doing what he always does and stealing a shit ton of underneath targets.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But, I think he could be kind of like Cole Beasley or something. I think part of it is like the Bills are sort of teetering towards Chiefs land, where they, they're not like, they still have a ways to go before they get to where the Chiefs were last year. But I think you want like a certain amount of capable pass catchers in an offense to kind of help keep the whole thing chugging along. The real question is like, is Diggs, is he falling off a little bit? And if he is, then like he's going too high. But if he's not, then he can like pretty easily pay off, mid to late second round ADP, especially if you're getting him stacked, which I think when you take him there, it's just less appealing to take Allen all of a sudden, and you have a chance to push Allen to the third, which is pretty sweet.
It is interesting. Like, I understand that the market, likes AJ Brown more, younger, I think just arguably sexier. But if you think about the trajectory of what happened, it was like the Bills' offense was still good down the stretch last year. It was just like Diggs's role kind of got de-emphasized. Whereas AJ Brown, not only was he a little de-emphasized, but the entire team was just bad. And AJ Brown's ADP hasn't budged. And now Diggs is going like almost a round later than where he was going last year, because Diggs and AJ Brown were ADP buddies all last year. And so the discount's getting applied to Diggs, but not to AJ Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I wonder if some of those types of discounts just sort of evaporate the longer we go on, because we'll start to kind of think about things from a forward-looking perspective and from a more zoomed-out perspective. The more distance we get from the end of last season, I think. Travis Kelce's the other guy that comes to mind, where, although it's funny, the last thing we saw was him leading them to a Super Bowl. But before that, it was pretty bad. But I wonder if we kind of start to treat him more like Travis Kelce as the summer goes on.
Yeah. Have you been selecting much James Cook? I always seem like I'm like one or two picks just too late to grab him. I think I only have like one share.
Oh, I take a fair amount of Cook. I take him in this spot a lot, which he's not, but this he is often available here. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're on the board here. We could, depending on what raise it does here, we do have ETN that we could do, or we could grab one of these wide receivers.
I like one of the wide receivers.
Which one do you prefer? Zay, Kirk?
I'm good with any of it. Yeah, Zay and Kirk would be the two.
Looks like of the two, Kirk would maybe have the better chance of coming back around.
Mm-hmm.
So why no ETN there? Higher in the ranks, take a little detour for the running back there? Or are you just worried about this wide receiver run and kind of missing out?
Yeah, I tend to really want 3 through here, and even 4. And then like the way I could see this going is if we were to grab Kincaid, right, that's another detour. And then wide receivers just completely gone by like round 7. So I start to get nervous about taking more than, we certainly could take ETN, but then all of a sudden, if we wanted to stack up Allen with Kincaid, it starts to feel a little shaky at wide receiver.
So one of the guys I did as my thought exercise for best case scenario landing spot, who now has made me struggle with his ADP a little bit more, is Rome. In that I was like, what if he goes to the Jags, which I think would be just an incredible landing spot. He slips a little bit, or Jags move up, takes over for Ridley, becomes the alpha. Here, let's make this pick and then we can talk about it. Kirk falls back. I'm super happy with that. Yeah. In that scenario, which I think would be very good for him, I was like, he probably moves up into the mid 4th round, like in the T. Higgins, Keenan, Zay range.
Wait, sorry, where is he going in the center?
I was saying he would move up into the 4th round, from basically the 4-5 turn to the mid 4th.
If he goes to where?
The Jags.
The Jags. Okay. Oh, yeah.
So basically saying like a pretty good landing spot, but a really marginal move up. And I guess the second
Although
part
I think he might be more like in in that Cup Smith tier.
Maybe the market would do that. But I guess the thing I was then struggling with is I think that's pretty unlikely. Like, I think Rome's going to go before the Jags. And if you think about his most likely spots, people will do the Bears. Maybe Neighbors and Harrison do both go really high, and the Giants are like, all right, fine, we'll take Rome. He's definitely falling in those scenarios, right? Like, there's no way he can stay like late fourth on the Giants or Bears.
Well, Giants, I think he could, because just the target competition, like the projections would have to really like him, right? Like, I know we're not loving the quarterback situation and everything, but the Bears is the nightmare scenario where like rookie quarterback and
third on the target.
Those are some, and those dudes are good.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, I mean, it's kind of the JSN situation from last year, but I mean, you feel even worse about the quarterback play, right? I mean, not that Caleb's going to be worse than Geno, but he's a rookie. So how much volume is there? And maybe by the end of the season, it's a better situation for 3 receivers, but that one's definitely scary.
Yeah.
I see that getting mocked more and more too. So
to the Bear. Yeah. I mean, again, that would be just awesome for Caleb. I mean, I think he could just have a massive year.
That would be amazing.
So here's our squad through 5 rounds. We got Josh Allen stacked up with Diggs, and then we got 3 other wide receivers: Jamar Chase, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk. No running backs, no tight ends yet. JGFC at the turn, starving the beast, double taps, George Kittle, Kyle Pitts. Very on brand for JGFC. I believe one of the biggest bully tight end truthers out there. Kincaid not going to make it back to us.
That move.
It sure did. Yeah, because this was a nice range here. Whereas, like, if he just takes one, there's a Laporta drafter, there's a Kelsey drafter, and then you just have to fade a couple. So no Kincaid.
Damn, that's rough.
How many big board drafts are you up to?
120 maybe. Let me see.
Wow, you're well on your way.
It might be a little high. No, 109.
109.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Where are you?
Low. I'm at, this is like, I think my 22nd or 23rd.
Oh, wow.
Mixon is at the top, who I'm still fine with. Godwin, Hopkins, Kamara, Montgomery based on ADP. It's also Mixon.
Honestly, Mixon seems pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been happy to draft Joe Mixon in my life, but this seems pretty great.
Yes. We get him at 68 here. Yeah, I haven't, my whole thing is like, I've only been drafting on stream or while doing cardio. So my draft numbers are low. But
you're not going to max the big board with slows this year?
No. We'll see.
At what point would you like get the tipping point of I've got to do it now?
I mean, I think I would have to be over 100 to like spam enter 50. So there's just like no way. There's no way. There was the choice. It was like, for people, I could either make weekly videos on the Deposit Kingdom channel, or I could max the big board. The selfish one would have just been just drafting teams instead of spending my time researching, scripting, recording, making videos.
So you're doing one every week over there?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
That's awesome. I was saying to the chat earlier, I think the video I'm going to do next week, I need to spend some time with it, but I want to kind of piggybacking off of what you did with Hertzig, but I want to look at yours, rotovises and ETRs and find like the highest standard deviation and like look at the most polarizing players right now before the draft.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that should be fun.
I'm talking with Sean on Rotoviz Overtime today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Haven't done a pod with him yet this offseason.
So we're at the top here. I wouldn't mind doing Ingram potentially with Kirk, get a tight end in here. Anything else you see? Yeah.
No, I like that a lot.
Yeah, you had an interesting conversation with Herzik about kind of the Hopkins stuff. I do think he's a tough rank because it's like just compared to Ridley, it's like, yeah, give me Hopkins over Ridley around later every time. But then just wondering, like, could they potentially both just like sink each other?
First, yeah, that's the concern. And I do think the Jamar Chase route stuff does that's like pretty amazing if you're not that into Ridley. To kind of, to me, it's a red herring. Like they're like basically like, how are you going to use Chase? And he's like, yeah, we're going to like have, or Ridley, they're like, we're going to kind of have him do some of the same stuff, meaning like he's going to like run some of the routes Chase ran, or maybe they use him on screens and stuff. But like that doesn't mean they're going to like feed him targets like Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
So that stuff kind of, I don't know. Like I think we have a tendency to take the wrong meaning from those types of things. Chase obviously will have an important role or Ridley will have an important role in the offense, but it's going to matter which one of these two guys is better. And Hopkins, unless he falls off, I think is pretty clearly better.
Yeah, I mean, similar to how we were talking about the stuff for Caleb, if they took Rome, I mean, to me, Levis is just such an interesting late round quarterback dart now with how much they've surrounded him. And there's just very little risk, I think, at his current ADP. Like, I don't think he's getting benched. Like, I think he's pretty locked into getting to play the whole year. And I mean, they've loaded up for him. They even have Spears, who's going to be a nice pass catching weapon out of the backfield. I don't know. I keep talking myself into Levis in a lot of spots where I need a late QB.
No, I like Levis. I agree. Who are they going to bench for? Mason Rudolph? And what would that get them? He really has to play his way out of it because he was a second round pick last year. They probably want to see it through. I mean, he certainly could. I think Drew Lock got benched the year they gave him. He was a second round pick. They gave him the chance. And so if he's bad enough, he'll get benched. But there aren't scenarios like, Howell worried me last year because he was very fun for fantasy and then he gets benched anyway. I think if Levis is fun for fantasy, he probably keeps the job. So you're not getting like, I don't know what exactly we'd call that, but it feels like just a really difficult bet when it kind of pays off and you still lose. So
yeah, Flyfish says you guys aren't even a little intrigued to see Ridley used creatively. Taylor's sucked last year. Yeah, like my thing though is when you talk about using guys creatively, you're thinking of like Kyle Shanahan or Mike McDaniel, where you have a quarterback who can make those throws. Like you're scheming up. That's like not Levis's game. Like Levis is going to be like play action, take deep shots down the field. So I don't know if this is actually a huge upgrade for Ridley.
What's a downgrade? He's going from Trevor Lawrence to Will Levis.
Yeah. All right. We are on the clock. We have by ADP Pollard at the top. James Conner, you're right there with both of them. Kind of a dead zone for wide receivers.
Yeah, Conner's fine, or any of these running backs are fine.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if we have any other tiebreakers we should consider. Let's do Conner. James Conner.
So I think he's the guy there.
Yeah. And, hopefully an offensive boost, right? Like you get a full year, hopefully from Kyler. You get, obviously McBride coming back in year 3. Hopefully they draft Marvin Harrison or at least move back and grab a guy like Neighbors or Rome. Connor's going to have virtually no competition. And they've already shown like the Cardinals too have been one of those teams that they haven't shown a willingness to like spend a high draft pick on these running backs. And they bring these guys along slowly, right? Like they did it with Eno. They did it with Keontae Ingram. Like they've never been super quick to thrust these young guys into big roles.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 4 running backs that would make me nervous about Conner in the class. Jalen Wright, not in this order, but Jalen Wright, Blake Corum, Jonathan Brooks, and Trey Benson are the 4 guys. Mm-hmm. And like literally other than that, I think Conner just kind of chugs along and they kind of bring in a guy who's like helpful depth.
Yeah. All right. We are about to pick here. We got a couple of Broncos on the board, Javonte and Sutton. If we want to dip our toes into the rookie waters, there's Trey Benson. What do you think?
I tend to go Javonte here.
Mhm.
I guess we could go Sutton. What are your thoughts?
I don't mind going Javonte here and knowing we're gonna like a lot of the rookies in the next like 30 to 40
Yeah.
picks.
Yeah, I think Sutton's undervalued, but also I don't take him a ton because you can grab a running back here that feels like of a higher caliber than what you're going to get later. And I don't know. Yeah, I'd rather take cracks at the rookies really at wide receiver.
Yeah. Sutton, yeah, and you find these guys where you truly don't know who their quarterback is going to be. Like, I don't even know how to begin to try to price or think through who is going to be Sutton's quarterback. It's just always less appetizing to take those guys with so much uncertainty, not from saying how it's going to even impact his performance, but just not even having the stacking option either.
Right. It's probably Bo Nix.
Yeah.
I think he might just sit tight and take Bo Nix.
Yeah. Yeah. Ian, today in the Fantasy Life newsletter, he has his profile up about Bo Nix. Pretty interesting profile with how old he is. I believe he had a crazy stat here about his age relative to Trevor Lawrence's. Where can I find that? Yeah, he's making him just 142 days younger than fourth-year pro Trevor Lawrence. That's wild.
Wow. I have a stat in my soon-to-be-released running back articles that are this November, Ray Davis will be 25 years old. Travis Etienne will also be 25 years old in November. He doesn't turn November. He just doesn't turn 26 yet.
And isn't it so funny too? Like if you think of perception, like people feel a little burned by Travis Etienne, like that. Yes, he's still going in the fourth and all that, but like the sexiness sheen around Travis Etienne is mostly evaporated. And Ray Davis is like, oh, this hot young new rookie. They're both the same age. Yeah,
he's gonna be 25 in November. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about. Did we select Javonte when we drafted last week with Davis? I feel like we've had it, or maybe it was on a ship chasing stream where the three of us drafted him. I remember having
a fair amount of Javonte.
Yeah, I get it. And what at 101 he was going? What he was going like by the end of the summer, mid 70s, wasn't he last year? Maybe
Javonte?
even a smidge higher.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a pretty obvious value to me. Where like he's now 2 years off a major knee injury, multi-ligament. And I think the other guys in the backfield are interesting, but he's the early down guy there. He has his role in the offense. So I don't know. You're getting to the point with some of these guys where it's like Trey Benson could be, he could be anything, even a lead back in a whatever offense like Javonte Williams. So obviously he could go to the Cowboys, but
this feels like a quarterback or wide receiver pick. We could take Lawrence or could try to push him around past ADP if you feel strongly about like a Lockett, Franklin, Coleman type here.
Yeah, I would say Lockett or Lawrence.
Let's just lock up Lawrence. I don't feel super strongly. We also have like a pretty good veteran wide receiver room, so we could then kind of just really crank rookies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Be done at quarterback. I guess, Lockett goes right after us. I took Lockett in my last draft. I had cornered the market. I took Metcalf and Lockett. And then because of that, Geno fell like 40 picks past ADP.
Nice.
Which was one of the tips that I mentioned in the Big Board Tips video that you contributed to on the Deposit Kingdom channel of like, sometimes like you can get insane deals on those pocket passer ones when you have the stacking partners. But you also, in that Lawrence case, it's like, yeah, we maybe could have pushed him around. We do see Jaden Daniels go, but it's also like, is there a point to pushing it around if you have this wide receiver tier super flat?
Right. Yeah.
We could. Do you know who we could take? And I heard you talking about how it's like sometimes hard to like go out of your way to get him. We could take Curtis Samuel here.
Okay.
with Allen.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
He's a guy I normally would, if I didn't have Allen, I would probably just have blinders on him. He hasn't been like a guy I've sought out, but around ADP with a Josh Allen stack, it seems fine.
Yeah, I like that. Sam Sherman was talking him up. Of course, Sam was talking up Curtis Samuel, not a exciting player, but
yeah, I mean, the other thing too is like we just did him obviously with Stefon Diggs, but like Curtis Samuel in Josh Allen stacks without Stefon Diggs also makes a ton of sense, right? Where you're kind of leveraging like, hey, Diggs is overpriced. Curtis Samuel eats into his target projection. How do I, benefit from that?
Right. Is this so? Hoosier in the chat asking if I know who the doctor was that did Jonathan Brooks surgery. Is this to become like? I feel like we're really the fantasy community thing of like, hey, don't you know?
I literally did a whole bit on that in the last draft. So he was trying to bait you that this is the ultimate now way to win hearts and minds at cocktail parties. Is saying, well, did you actually know?
This got to be the best ball for us video. Did you know the dog? It's really helpful for you if they draft him.
Do you know what's so funny about that too? Is the people who love that fact, no one has ever considered that his intimate knowledge of his knee could actually be bearish. Like it could be, we don't want to take him because he's way behind where he should be. We've only thought of it through the positive, like, dude, this guy's ready to play in August.
I'm actually hoping just for the discourse that he goes like early to mid-second, but behind the Cowboys. The Cowboys like trade up, don't take Brooks. And then it's like, oh, they know, dude, they know.
That's right. Yeah, I was referencing, you guys had a good conversation in the ship chasing Discord the other day about the kind of that whole Cowboys RB2 situation. I wrote about Zeke in the newsletter this morning and how, if they do go the Jonathan Brooks route and he's not ready, I mean, Rico and Zeke are going to lead that backfield in touches for the start of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on the pro Dowdle side of that conversation just because I'm like, you kind of know, like everyone knows it won't be Dowdle. But like what this 16th round pick presupposes is, what if he is? It's like there's some chance that Dowdle actually has a decent role this year. And if he doesn't, he's with the Zeke stuff makes this less likely, but it's like, hey, I may miss and get an RB2 out of this pick, and he's going like next to Tyler Algier. So you're in RB2 range.
Yep. We're on the clock here. Feels like wide receiver range. There's Judy. We could do onslaught it with Khalil Shakur, Xavier Legette if we want a rookie. What do you think?
The onslaught actually seems kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'd also do Ty Chandler. Okay.
Let's just play the ADP because Chandler is like 10 picks later, so there's maybe a chance. Yeah, I have no problem with the onslaught there. Get Khalil Shakur a little bit past ADP. So we now have Shakur, Curtis Samuel, and Stefon Diggs with Josh Allen there. Yeah, the whole thing too, it's like, I mean, the running back, I mean, I find it in every draft, everyone who's doing these, like, you get past pick, I don't know, 160 or something, and it is, man, there's nothing out there that feels good to click.
Yeah, I think the running back class is weak enough that I do think we want to be trying to hit some of these RB2 bets. Like I'm taking a lot of Izzy Abanikanda because I'm pretty sure he's the RB2 in New York. And he showed enough last year where I feel like he should be able to be ahead of most of the like kind of day 3 guys that get selected. So that's he is very, very clearly behind Breece Hall. You're not getting any chance of like a Kyron Williams type of outcome. But as like a 20th round or 19th round guy who I'm like, yeah, I think this dude is a handcuff. Like,
yeah.
It's just, I think that has value,
For sure. Did you guys tweak, or here, you want to grab Chandler now?
Yeah.
Get him at
Chandler's
149. Did you guys tweak the Marvin Mims ranking after the Josh Reynolds signing, or did you just keep it at what it was?
I think we kept it what it was.
Man, yeah, I see. Well, it's interesting because it did, and I'm just such a scarred Marvin Mims drafter, but it did like move the mental needle for me of making him a less sexy clip. But it's good to know that you guys, as being rational rankers, didn't see that as moving the needle for him.
Yeah, it's tough to know with Mims. Like, it just comes down to him, I think. Like, if he's not ready or good enough to beat out Josh Reynolds for targets, like, it's
already over.
Yeah, that's it. Like, we lose, you know? So,
but couldn't you say that, like, don't we think he was ready to beat out little Jordan Humphrey for targets and Brandon Johnson for targets, but a coach wouldn't let him?
I mean, I thought he was, but he didn't. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough. Like, I mean, maybe it's Peyton, but, you know, and then he's like, well, Judy was kind of blocking him, and then they trade Judy, so that seems pretty bullish. But
that Peyton's quote, dude, flash forward, it's going to be the end of next year. Josh Reynolds will be like second on the team and everything, and someone will ask Peyton that at the combine, and he's like, yeah, he was a little blocked by Josh Reynolds, but, you know, I see big things from this year.
Yeah. God.
It's also like the thing that always pisses me off about the Marvin Mims stuff so much, where it was like, if this was a previous regime pick, whereas he inherited Marvin Mims, it's like, all right, Sean Payton's doing his thing. He has his guys, bringing in all of his retreats, all this, but he traded up to draft him. Marvin Mims is supposed to be one of his guys.
The first pick they took, the first pick in the Sean Payton era.
I've been talking with Dwayne because he's about to start releasing his rookie wide receiver supermodel for this year. He's been doing some kind of tweaks to the model, and like Marvin Mims just like still showing up like at everything, like looking back at like 2 year, 3 year, like the dude popped when you factor in like everything for him. And it's just so tilting that it hasn't panned out.
Yeah. A lot of these second year guys, I'm actually like less interested in going back to the well on in best ball specifically, because the second year guys I think are like a more boom bust archetype. You know, we talk about second year breakouts a lot, but like when a second year guy doesn't hit, he can just disappear completely, and that's not great for best ball. But Mims is one of the guys where I was like, yeah, so what? I'm drafting him anyway. The hit seems so obvious to see how it comes about. There's so much opportunity, you know, if he's good, right? Like if he's good, he could be the number one target earner by the end of the year. Like, Sutton isn't this superstar, you know, he has to be really good, and you feel worse about that after last year. But he also flashed a lot last year. It's a very weird rookie season.
We're on the clock here. I'm not the biggest Cade Otton guy, but tight end does get really weak here. Xavier
That's what jumped
Legette
out to me too.
Cade, yeah.
It just gets so rough at tight end.
And Ingram puts you in that weird spot where it's like, I feel just in my head, if you take Otton, you could be okay with this being a 2 quarterback room. But if you push it pretty much too much further past that, then we're probably wanting to add a third tight end.
Yeah. I mean, you could add a third tight end here, but you don't have to.
So we got a 2-4-6-2 build. We got the Josh Allen onslaught with Diggs, Shakir, and Samuel. We got Trevor Lawrence double stacked with Kirk and Ingram. Our running backs, Joe Mixon, James Conner, Javonte Williams, Ty Chandler. Our other wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Zay Flowers, and then just selected Cade Otton as our second tight end.
There was
what's that? No, you go ahead.
Someone in the chat just said Traylon Burks and Mims Spider-Man memes, but you're getting, which is, you know, fair enough, but you're getting him like 5 rounds later. So
Traylon Burks?
No, I think he would assume we're talking last year, right? Like Traylon Burks year 2, Marvin.
Oh,
Mims yeah. But you're getting a big discount on the eventual bust.
Yeah, Mims is essentially like going where he was last year in most drafts.
No, Burks was like in the 8th.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm saying where Mims went as a rookie.
Yes.
We could do, I like Algier in this range. We could also do one of the rookie wide receivers or Zay Jones if we want to triple him up.
Maybe Zay. Let's do Zay.
Yeah, Zay's definitely, I mean, Algier's a little bit higher, but I feel like we're doing okay at running back. And I like the 2 triple stacks here with our quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's fun.
Do you think the Jags would potentially use that pick on a wide receiver? That mid first round pick?
Yeah. I definitely could see them doing that for sure. So Zay could end up being kind of out of a job.
The thing is, though, Zay has weathered a lot of stuff, right?
He has, yeah.
He is kind of the cockroach of that team. Like, he always finds a way to have a couple spike weeks, be relevant at some point in the season. They always have the kind of the 49ers dynamic going too. Obviously, Ingram's been a benefit of that when it's like there's one injury or one guy's out, like one of Zay and Ingram are like stepping up and doing big things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and they're in range where they could do like a Brian Thomas or something, right? So that would hurt for sure. But yeah, the day 2 guys are interesting in this class where I think they're probably whoever they take would have a big impact on Zay Jones, but it's not a ton of like, it is interesting that a lot of the value of the day 2 guys is wrapped up in draft capital to some extent, so
yeah, it is so fascinating too that like so many of those guys back there don't have like really massive production profiles from college, and yet you're going to be so excited about their landing spot if they are going to the teams who pick 20th to 32nd.
Right.
It's going to immediately offset it. You're like, well, Josh Allen's throwing him the ball, so I kind of like that.
Yeah. There's 3 different guys in this class who have size, who are athletic, who may get drafted in the late first round, and to have extremely low floors. Brian Thomas, Keon Coleman, and A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like Thomas. I'm kind of in on Thomas, but I do think he has a very low floor. Kind of 1-year wonder kind of profile. Early declare. I think a pretty high ceiling, but he doesn't check every box,
I mean, I feel like you can say, high ceiling, low floor for basically every one of these prospects after Odunze. Maybe you say Ladd has a high floor. High floor, low ceiling.
Ladd I think has a high floor, low ceiling. Yeah. But I think guys like Roman Wilson are probably going to be like fine. Like I think there's a few other guys I would say kind of in the higher floor archetype.
I was going to float Estime if he fell, and then he went 1 pick before us. Burton, Malachi Corley, if we want to go wide receiver.
I never take Corley. I'd probably go Burton, but I'm open to other ideas.
No, I'm fine with Burton. This is just such a familiar spot for me. Not that I'm feeling like we're really boxed out at running back. I mean, Mixon, Connor, Javonte, Ty Chandler is a pretty good foursome there. But like, we're probably ideally getting to 6 running backs in this build.
Yeah,
and so we'll have to find some stuff to like. I guess this could be a Tank Bigsby team.
Oh no! I mean, we did pass on ETN, so we're already betting against him.
Yeah.
God. Oh no.
It's just you have to like come up with any excuse to find a reason to love some of these late running backs.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with Bigsby is I'm not sure he's the number 2. It might be Dearness Johnson.
Yeah. So yeah, we're back on the clock here. What do you want to do?
I mean, Izzy's the number 2, I think.
Yeah. we can just keep building out our position. I feel like Izzy's getting up there as one of my most drafted. Okay. He's up here with Dylan, Jalen Wright, Marshawn Lloyd, Braylon Allen, Jonathan Brooks. Izzy, him and Jalen Warren, my 2 highest drafted non-rookie running backs.
They're pretty high in the layup ranks, so if you're drafting up these ranks, you'll definitely get them.
I was like, I have my my news feed open, and I was like, oh, there's someone's hyping up Dylan Laube on the timeline this morning. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I immediately see that it's actually Davis who's doing the hyping. I was looking for some kind of confirmation. I was like, oh, he's one of these national reporters is talking him up. And then, no, it's just Davis.
If
I could
it's funny they're all rushing highlights. He's like not a good rusher. That's basically like the universally.
Well, this highlight is against rusher. Dartmouth, so that might be why. All right, we're at a 2.582. We got 2 more picks here. I think we're doing one more running back for sure.
Yep.
And then it's probably a choose your own adventure, 3rd tight end or 9th wide receiver.
Listen, if Zach Ertz is there in the 20th, I'm gonna suggest him, just so you know.
Seriously? Oh my God, Lord. Do you know who? Actually, I'll save it for my video. But I took a gross tight end pick late. You guys actually have a rank on them.
Was it Will Disley?
It was.
Spoiler for Pete's video.
I will explain in my video.
I think it makes sense.
People forget starting tight end.
I know.
They gave. I was looking it up too because before I clicked it, this is one of the benefits of a slow draft. It's like you could actually do a little search. I was like, they actually gave him decent money.
I mean, I can't. It's hard for me to imagine, a guy kind of more better suited to what they're going to be trying to do, play action, out there blocking all the time. Mostly not play action. Most of their runs will not be fake runs. They will be real runs. Will Disley be out there blocking his ass off? And then, little fake run around the goal line. Disley scores a touchdown.
There you go. Can be on the field for 100% of snaps. Yeah, you're blocking tight end stuff, right? If it's just a guy who's not good, but's going to have the opportunity to get little play action things at the goal line.
Yep.
All right. Depending on what raise it does here, I'm going to float Greg Dortch.
Okay, I like that.
Just we have James Conner. Little short King Summer vibe to this team.
Now we're probably locking ourselves out of a Dawson Knox or a Zach Ertz or whatever.
Oh, you're right. Oh, shucks. Hang on. I accidentally. My bad. Yeah, I completely wasn't kind of thinking that through, that we only had one spot to play with. I mean, when you select Cade Otton at pick 164, that's a huge vote of confidence. That's saying, buddy, this is a 2 tight end room, buddy. It was.
No, we do. We have 2 more picks left, so we could go tight end, couldn't we?
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Dude, your play didn't work.
Cade Otton was so interesting last year because he had a pretty high advance rate, and it was just all because of that massive spike week against the Texans when they got in that shootout, where you realize if you get 30 points from a late round tight end, that is just so immensely valuable because you're papering over 6 mediocre weeks in one that actually hits your starting lineup.
I know. Yeah, I mean, the tight ends who are running the routes right now seem really, really valuable. There's not that many of them. And there's last year we had this influx of new talent. We're not getting that this year in this nearly the same way. I mean, Bowers is legit, but Sanders just had a really poor pro day. Ja'Tavion Sanders, who I was pretty into. That definitely concerns me. And then there's not much depth behind him.
Yeah. I will once again float the Tank Bigsby thing.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do Bigsby.
It's basically the less exciting thesis of the Evan Hull and Izzy stuff, where it's like,
Right.
feel pretty good. He's the RB2. I mean, you brought up a point with Dearness Johnson, but I mean, some of the quotes about them talking, they're trying to make Tank happen. That's what some of the quotes have been out of there.
Yeah, and Tank was an okay prospect. Maybe he shows up in year 2 a little bit.
Yeah,
could be kind of Chuba Hubbard-esque. Remember, we didn't really have much hope for Chuba after his rookie year.
True. And it literally is also just like, if ETN gets hurt, even if it is like a split backfield, like Tank Bigsby's going to have a role. Like if ETN gets hurt, he's going to get 12 to 13 touches a game at a floor, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bigsby
over Hull is egregious. We have Lawrence. How is that possibly egregious? Anyone over Evan Hull is not egregious. Evan Hull's like the ultimate 20th round pick.
This is like one of the things we try to get better at. I'm saying like collectively every year, where our overconfidence in like a 19th round bet over a 20th round bet is so massive. When we really zoom out, and our ability to hit reliably on 19th and 20th round picks are so low. Yes, you can break ties or whatever. But I mean, you even talk about this from a rankings challenge, right? Where it's like, you don't necessarily want someone to have 100% Izzy and 0% Evan Hull, because like the bets of them hitting, like it's still largely dependent on JT and Breece Hall's health. You're not in the market or in the business of trying to predict who's more likely to get hurt, Breece Hall or Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Wow, what a steal. Evan Hull at 229.
Damn. I do like Evan Hull, though.
I do too.
He's pretty fun.
I slipped up last draft because I just had that exact dynamic, and it was an Anthony Richardson team. And I was like, this should have been an obvious opportunity to go Hull over Izzy. And I didn't get there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Hull, though, is like, we don't actually know he's the number 2. You know, he could be, we don't know who the number 2 is. He's like a day 3 kind of intriguing but not amazing prospect profile who got hurt early in his rookie season. Like, we could be doing like, remember Evan Hull as early as next year. So it's just a little, I like Evan Hull. I want him to be the RB2. I think he could be really fun. I think he could be really fun as like a rotational guy, getting used as like an explosive, rotational element to the offense kind of dude. But we don't get to decide that.
So Oshok's got sniped on Zach Ertz. We can just go mega Bills onslaught with Knox, though, if we want a third tight end here. Yeah. It's a fun way to play the Bills.
Yeah, the Bills are pretty easy to stack.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can get the Diggs Allen at 2-3, then you can kind of pick your spots. You could even, try to call your shot too at that, around pick 100, whether it's 80, the Keon Coleman, try to hit that.
That's fun. Yeah, Keon Coleman, we had a chance to take. I forget what we did instead. It was something more prudent.
What did we do? So Keon Coleman went at 130.
We did Samuel.
We took Curtis Samuel. Yeah.
Which makes more sense than trying to predict it, but
yeah. I guess the 2v2 you're looking at there, well, there's kind of a rookie tier gap. It would basically be like Curtis Samuel and like Xavier Legette, or like Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakur if you were doing a rookie Bills 2v2. All right, Pat, this one's in the books. Let's recap this one quickly. I'll read it off, and then we'll get your thoughts on how this one shook out. A couple big team stacks with Bills and the Jags centered around Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence. Our Bills stack is Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakur, and Dawson Knox. Our Jag stack is Trevor Lawrence, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and don't forget Tank Bigsby. Our other running backs, Joe Mixon, James Conner, Javonte Williams, Ty Chandler, and Izzy. Select him in every draft. Abanikanda. Our other wide receivers, we got a Jamar Chase at the top. Zay Flowers is in there, as is Jermaine Burton and Short King Summer stalwart Greg Dortch. And then one other tight end, Cade Otton. How we feel about this squad?
I like it. It's kind of interesting that one of the pivot points was us deciding whether or not to take Travis Etienne or a wide receiver, and then we end up building this Jag stack without ETN. But I think it kind of just illustrates that when you go wide receiver there, I do think it gives you more flexibility. And that flexibility is what allowed us to grab Evan Ingram later on, and then kind of push wide receiver 5 for a while and grab those running backs and, grab a Lawrence. So yeah, it's kind of funny the way that worked, but I like this build. This is like a typical way that I'm building a lot, where I'm getting like 4 wide receivers early, but then I can be a little loose with them when the wide receiver 5 is added, and just trying to stay flexible, because I know that pocket of running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends, starting in like around round 7 is just going to be, it's just no wide receivers there.
And I would say the only difference from this team versus if you were regularly drafting off a leg up ranks is only having 1 rookie would be pretty rare. But in these rooms, we are in like not wide receiver avalanches as much as rookie avalanches in these drafts. Yeah,
that's true. I'd normally end up with like 4 or 5 rookie wide receivers. If I've got 9 wide receivers, maybe 3 to 4 would be rookie.
Or maybe we would have too. We basically made the swap of rookies to like completing mega stacks with our quarterbacks.
Which is fun.
Yeah. All right, dudes. Pat, let people know what's going on at Leg Up. You're around for ship chasing this week, right? It's Gretsch who's out. Yeah,
that's right.
So you and I think are going to book a guest. We'll let people know what pans out with that, so you can catch us Thursday night at 8:15 p.m. But what else do you have going on at Legendary Upside this week?
Yeah, I'm doing a pod later today with Matthew Betts, talking injuries, talking through some of the big injury situations in fantasy football. And it's going to have rookie profiles coming out this week. First running back one will be out tomorrow morning, and then getting the rest of the running back stuff out this week. Wide receivers, tight ends, working on that as well. And yeah, we've got some other articles in the hopper on kind of like Sacrilegious been working on a couple ideas that should be out in the next few weeks as well.
Awesome. Excited to see that. There's worse things than going on paternity leave and having Sacrilegious keeping the content flow going for you.
Yeah, there are worse things for sure. So that there'll be lots of good stuff still going out on the site even when I'm out for a couple weeks.
For me, just make sure you guys are subscribed over at the Deposit Kingdom YouTube channel. This channel will always be for the live streams. Those weekly best ball strategy videos and the like will be over there. You can check out the wide receiver dream scenarios, kind of expanding on that exercise, just trying to see how much upside there still is in some of these lofty rookie wide receiver ADPs. Think you guys will enjoy that. And then I'll be back with a video later this week over there reviewing my biggest board slow draft that I did. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you for not pranking me too much with your April Fool's Day shenanigans. I'm Pete. This has been Best Ball Breakfast. Thanks again to Pat for joining us. We'll see you guys next time.